Our region is one of the wealthiest regions in the world in terms of natural resources, but is the poorest region when it comes to development. And part of that problem we have is people's fear of investment. The Saudi economy is growing at a fast pace, enormous amount of wealth in the region. Very little is invested in our part of the country in the region. Some countries like Egypt, when you look at the talent that they have, but they lack the resources. You look at countries like Syria, that has the resources, the talent, but doesn't have the resources. You look at Iraq, that has both the talent and the resources, but it has a problem in terms of domestic conflicts that they're facing. Once we solve the process, we can move towards development in the region. We are far behind. If you look at Egypt on the region of our part, if you look at Egypt after World War II, for instance, and compare it to the former Soviet republics, they were economically equal. Now, 30, 40 years later, you look at Egypt and you look at Yugoslavia, where it is. Something went wrong in our process. When you look at Korea in 1950s and compare that to our part of the world, and you look at Korea now, what's the difference? They have been able to develop and move forward. We sort of got stuck, stagnated, and didn't go anywhere. We have the knowledge and the wealth that we need, and we need the support. And as a country in Saudi Arabia, we've always looked to countries to support us in terms of being partners in our development. The U.S. has always been a natural partner for us, people who graduate from here. A majority of Saudis attended college in the United States who know the U.S. businesses. 2/3 of our legislative body are graduates of American colleges. A majority of Saudis know more about the United States than they would know about some other Arab countries because they either went to school here or had relatives who went to school here. I remember my grandmother 20 years ago, was 20, but oh wow, time flies. Back in the 70s, when my cousins first came to study in the U.S., we had a cousin who went to the University of California at Los Angeles, and another one went to the University of Arizona, I think it was in Tempe, and another one went to Colorado, University of, I think it's in Boulder, can't remember which one. And when we went there, they said, oh, we came to the U.S. and said, oh, do you meet your cousins? I'm thinking, no, we're in Texas, they're in California, Arizona, what have you. And the idea was everything was close by. The idea, oh, do you guys have lunch together? And you have like, no, it's a distance. Now, a short time after that, they would tell you what there is in Colorado, the weather like. They know everything there is to know about Oregon, because every Saudi that I've met wanted to go to Oregon and California. Or Washington State, so everybody heads out to those areas. But they knew about American culture. They knew, understood. And then there was a knoll that people didn't go and travel, and we understand each other through the lens of a camera. People see America what they see on television. You can sit in the comfort of your home in Saudi Arabia and you turn on the television and you see about 300 different channels. Most of these are sort of infomercials and what have you. But a lot of programming of American news, American issues that are showing. And do you really want people to understand you through entertainment? Imagine people, you turn on the television and the first thing you see is the Springer Show. And you figure, oh my God, what's wrong here? You turn on your television and you see Dynasty, or you watch some of the shows and you think that's what America was about. Same thing what you see in American television when you turn on your television and you see violence on television in the Middle East and the acts of terrorism, and that's the image that people see. And so the first experience people have when they go to Saudi Arabia is more of, oh, I didn't expect that. We've met with experts, journalists who've traveled all over the world when they came to Saudi Arabia. And they've been there twice, and every time they go there, they're always surprised if it's for the first time. They don't know what to expect. One of the journalists expected to compare us to Afghanistan when they got off the plane. And they go, oh, I expect, no, there's a difference here. But what we see is what people sort of look and see about each other. And that's what we're trying to break. And the best opportunity that we've faced, that King Abdullah and former President Bush had in mind, was to create the people-to-people contact, where we send students out here. And the number of students that we had in 2003, we were about 2,300 students who were in the U.S. studying at government scholarship. Now we're about 25,000. Not only that, just early this week, King Abdullah ordered that any Saudi student who is studying in the U.S. at their own expense will automatically be enrolled in the scholarship. We're encouraging students to come here. The number of visas to Saudis who've come here is about 50,000, and it's about the same number of Americans going to Saudi Arabia. So there is enormous amount of increase. The amount of investments in both countries has gone up. The number of U.S. trade in terms of agriculture and farm sales to Saudi Arabia in 2009 has gone up to like 34%. The trade has gone up. It was a slow start, but it has gone up. There's more sort of understanding. The more you understand each other in terms of your policies, the less the sort of suspicion of what to expect. And that's increasing. We are encouraging it. And we're looking forward eventually where there's a much more trade going on. There's much more business and much more easier for people to travel back and forth. We're making it easier to visit Saudi Arabia when we start issuing 5 years visas to businessmen who want to go to Saudi Arabia, whether they want it or not. We'll just give it to them and say, here, if you want to come another time, fine. It's much more open than we were before. And this is something that we're working on. We've worked with various groups to get people to Saudi Arabia and understand the country and the culture. We're reaching out to college university students in various parts of the country to encourage their students to come to Saudi Arabia. We have yet to see somebody who's come back and said something negative about it. Yes, you know, I drank the water, I got sick. So what? You know, could happen anywhere. But the understanding is much more open, the country which we're looking at. And that's something that we've been encouraging. And forums like this where people can come up and ask questions about your country, get the answers that they're looking forward, and understanding and learning something. In today's world, the questions that you see on television are not necessarily a question that a journalist wants to understand. It's more of a loaded question. You know, have you stopped beating your wife? How do you answer it? Yes? Oh, so when did you stop? Or no, oh, you're still doing it. It's sort of the approach that we have seen over the years is more of a, you know, you're guilty until you can prove to me that you're innocent. Even then, I don't believe it because it's not good for ratings. That's the approach that we're seeing, and we need to go beyond that, and we've been working hard on these issues. And I think there's a greater understanding that we're facing with the number of students that are coming here. We have, as I said, 25,000 people, Saudis here, with their families. That could up another 5,000. That are 30,000 ambassadors in every, basically, county in this country. My concern is not the Saudis that are studying in Long Beach, California, and Washington, and New York. I am more impressed with the Saudis who are going to Kansas City and Missouri and Missoula, which I almost went to, but thanks to the invasion of Iraq, I was spared. You don't want to be in Missoula in March, I can tell you that. But those are the places that really count when people go to, and this is the areas that is important, because what they will bring with them is an understanding of our culture to small-town America that really counts, that people outside the U.S. ignore. At the same time, they're bringing back understanding of what America is about. I'd rather have some student coming from a university in Kansas and Missouri and Alabama into Saudi Arabia, where they bring with them what they learned from the small towns, than have somebody come in from the bigger cities. I shouldn't be saying that because I got brothers and sisters who all went to Boston and San Francisco to study, but the idea is you want to get the understanding of what's there. We're encouraging to be part of the community, because the results is the long-term investments that we're having in those exchanges that we're looking forward to. Business communities are going back and forth. I've been to Iowa a number of times, and one year I went there 3 times to Iowa, and I wasn't even running for office. It's those parts that really count, that we're encouraging, and we're trying to get Saudis to come to Saudi Arabia on a number of these visits.